We have a call from Kennita in California, and I'm just going to let them go ahead and ask it to you. Kennita in California, you are live on Truth Wanted.
Hi, MD. I'm wondering whether, since you know about nanotechnology, I'm wondering if you've heard about cryonics.
I have heard the term. I know a little bit. Why don't you tell me what you think about cryonics? What do you mean when you say cryonics?
Basically, it's a procedure where immediately after you're declared dead, but before, as far as I'm concerned, you're really dead because death is a process, they lower your body to liquid nitrogen temperature and leave it there for as long as it takes for medical science to advance to the point where they could fix whatever was wrong with you and return you to life and health.
Yeah, so I've heard about this. I don't think that it's something that we can do with current technology. There's a saying in medicine that you're not dead until you're warm and dead, because people come back from being very, very cold and being what you'd call clinically dead, right? Their hearts stop, they're not breathing. But their metabolic processes in their cells have been slowed by the cold to such an extent that, you're not actually, the cells aren't dying, right? So it's got a biological basis to a certain extent. I watched a documentary on Netflix just earlier this week about a diver who ran out of oxygen in 4 degrees Celsius water and was under without air for about a half an hour. And he was able to be revived. And, there's some very reasonable biological explanations about that. Probably he was at such a depth that the partial pressure of oxygen in his tissues made it so that he had a lot of oxygen sort of stored in his tissues. But certainly the contribution of this very cold water and a very low body temperature contributed to him being able to be revived. Now, when you're talking about cryonics, I think that it's kind of a different story, and there's some problems. So first of all, I don't think we're anywhere near there with current medical technology.
Well, we certainly can't bring people back, right? Because yes, that'll probably take nanotechnology to, make sure that all of the pieces end up back where they belong. But
I think part of the process, you can't discount the process of the cooling, right? Because if you cool biological tissues too quickly, then they form ice crystals, and the ice crystals burst all the cells. And then all of your cells are going to be dead. So it's not just the rewarming, right? You can't just throw yourself, when you're inches from death, you can't just throw yourself into a vat of liquid nitrogen and wait for medical science to advance to the point where you can recover. I think that if we want to do this sort of thing, then both the freezing process and the recovery process need to be perfected.
Because Alcor currently uses a process called vitrification, where they get rid of the blood and replace it with cryoprotectant that keeps the cells from actually freezing. I guess you become more like a glass, and that's a process that would need to be reversed in the future, and we don't know how to do that yet. Actually, we've reversed it in tiny things, planarians and so on. But
so I guess I would say that if you can't bring someone back, then you can't know that you put them under properly, right? You have to do them both. So all these, I've heard of these companies that are saying, we don't know how to unfreeze you, but we'll freeze you.
Right. And we'll
freeze you now and we'll figure it out later. Yeah. I don't buy that. And then the other thing you have to consider is that whatever is killing you, that's bringing you to the brink of death, you're still going to have that, whether it's cancer or a heart attack or a brain tumor or whatever. That's not going to go away just from the freezing. I understand you're going to hope that they've figured something out in the future, but I don't know. That's a big gamble to take.
And the thing is, too, like, if you're if you don't know the end result, if you don't know the goal of if you don't know the goal of the process, how can the method you're using get you there? You know what I mean? It's kind of like, well, I know the goal is to wake you up, but if you don't know how exactly you're going to do that, you know, it's kind of like stepping out your front door in Cincinnati and being like, I'm going to go to New York City, and then just setting off in a direction and walking. Like, you don't know what
the Wright brothers didn't know, you know, how they were going to get across the ocean, and we didn't know how we were going to get to.
Well, the Wright brothers didn't fly across the ocean, and the Wright brothers had a concept of what lift was. So they had a good reason to think that this would work. So, I mean, I'm not trying to completely discount it, Kennita. I'm just saying there's so many caveats here that like what MD Aware was saying, like, if we don't do the first steps of the process right, how do we know that it's going to be reversible in the future? I really don't think that you can be. So I would be extremely skeptical.
If I can put it in a medical context, like, because I do operations, I would not go into an operation to, say, remove a tumor from someone's liver if I wasn't going to be able to put them back together, right? And make sure that they could actually recover from the operation. The bottom line is, like, in medicine, we try to do as little harm as possible. And so, like, if it were me and you were my patient, Kennita, and you came and you said, I have some disease that's going to kill me in 3 months. I'd like to get, you know, this cryonic procedure. What do you think? I would say, I recommend that you make the most of the time that you have left, because you may lose that little time to this very uncertain procedure. I would, with your best interest at heart, I would advise you not to go through with this sort of thing.
You do not put well, for one thing, it's not legal to do cryonic suspension until after someone has been declared dead, right? You are at the point where if you don't cryonically suspend this person, your only other options are cremation or burial, which have precisely zero chance. The chance
I get what you're saying.
If you get suspended, it may not be a large chance, but given the trajectory that we seem to be on, right? If you had looked at the Wright brothers and told them that someday people would be on the moon, they might have had enough forward looking to say, oh, yeah, we might be able to do that day. We obviously couldn't do it then. We didn't have the materials. We didn't have the science. We didn't know how it could be done. But the possibility was there, and it's like, well, sure, go ahead and give it a try. Basically,
I get what you're saying, Kennita. You're saying that the risk is basically zero. You're not venturing anything. But I would say that that's only true if, you know, you consider all the factors, including, you know, the financial factor. Are these places going to charge you like a lot of money? Are they scamming you, basically? And then how are the people who love you going to react to this? You know, are they going to be deprived of, you know, the opportunity to say goodbye through whatever service that, you know, they want to do? I just think, you know, obviously, I don't know if this is something that you're considering doing. But,
I'm actually signed up with Alcor. I have a life insurance policy.
Okay.
Just like any other life insurance policy, but, you know, it pays off to Alcor, and it's not like they're getting rich on this because, you know, they only, basically, they can pretty much keep their doors open and do a little research in the direction of trying to improve both the freezing, actually vitrification these days, process, and, looking forward to when nanotechnology, which the biological version as opposed to the just molecular machines version, will be able to, it's like once you're in the doer and they just, and say in the future, they say, okay, we're going to bring you back. Well, let's see, all of the pieces are still there, and you can pretty much say, well, gee, this neurotransmitter has these pieces, and okay, they go here, etc., and reconstruct. And once you're reconstructed, they would probably say, you were reconstructed, but we're going to keep you cold because, let's see, your paper says you died of a thyroid tumor. All right, so we'll fix that before we try to bring you back because, we don't want to thaw you out and have you immediately die of a thyroid tumor. Of course, medical science will have improved, certainly in the people suggest anywhere from 100 to 500 years that they'll be able to fix a lot of this stuff. And you would stay because once you're at liquid nitrogen temperature, you could stay there for an eon and nothing would change.
Right.
Yeah, I get what you're
it gets back to the process, though, that MD Aware was talking about. It's the process that's the flaw. So they may be able to fix the problem then, but they may not be able to fix the deficiencies in our primitive processes that we did back now. And I don't know. I wouldn't take that chance. What do you think,
well,
MD?
The more advanced the science gets, the more damage they'll be able to fix.
So I think I agree with you, Kennita, that medical science is going to continue to advance. However, we're still bound by the physical laws of the universe and things like that, right? There is going to be, like for instance, if this process rendered you or rendered a person essentially down to the individual atoms and lost the information about how those atoms were arranged, there's nothing we can do to rearrange you. That there's a law of physics that acts as a boundary to that. And I don't know anything about this company. I don't know anything about this vitrification process that you're describing. I would say what I've read and what I sort of know from my understanding of biology and medicine, I don't think that this technology is sufficiently mature to be feasible. However, I could be wrong, and I have been wrong in the past, and I'm going to be wrong in the future. So maybe I'm wrong about this. But the only thing I would say is it's your body. Obviously, it's your choice, and I would just, if it were me, I would be thinking about this not just in terms of its effect on me, but its effect on all the people that I care about.
Oh, that's true. You would, I know other people who are signed up. Some of them have their entire family signed up so that they would be sure to have people around when they came back. Some have relatives and friends who, are on board, even though they're not signed up themselves, and others are just going it alone. But the idea is that, well, I like living and I would like to have a chance to do more of it. And certainly but like I said, this is a chance when I would otherwise have none, because, and there are people I know who are religious who say, wait a minute, why do I need cryonics? Because I'm going to live forever anyway. And so I can basically,
now that
that
is an excellent point. I really like that you said that, Kennita. That is an excellent point. Why do you need cryogenics when you have eternity with Jeebus? That is I love it.
You-
All right, Kennita, I think we're
like,
going to move on. You wanted a hot take from a medical professional. You got one. You also got one
yes,
from some random guy in Canada. But this was a great call. I want to thank you for calling in, and I just recommend that you be skeptical and maybe don't spend too much money on it, because that money could go to improve the lives of people that are still alive, and you might not, probably won't be able to be resuscitated according to what we know now. And I think what we know now is infinitely more valuable than what we might know in the future. But hey, it's up to you. There's little risk. Just be careful, honey. Thank you for calling.
Thanks, Kennita.
That was interesting. That was interesting.
Yeah.
I had to resist the urge to make a Futurama joke.
I had
I
the
don't
same feeling.
right. Like I'm like, I don't know. Maybe your dog gets cryogenically frozen, and you wake up 1,000 years from now, and all of a sudden you find out that 12 cents you had in your checking account's now made you a multi-billionaire. That would be pretty cool,
That would be amazing.
right? But
I totally get Kenita's, her assessment of things. It's kind of like a Pascal's wager. She doesn't see a downside if she's going in when she's already dead.
wouldn't that already be too late, though? Like, if they were going to be able to revive you, wouldn't they have to do it when there was still some brain activity? Like, once that's gone, isn't it gone?
I mean, it depends what you mean by brain activity, right? This is the thing. Once you get into the details, it's like everything
Yeah.
is a spectrum.
It's sticky.
It's very sticky.
I don't think anybody knows enough about neuroscience to really say when they're, all those neurons have stopped firing enough such that your consciousness can't be reanimated.
Yeah. I certainly don't know, and I'm not prepared to make any firm statements about it. But like I said, I don't think that technology is mature enough to be investing in yet. I'd like to see maybe what this company has done with animal studies or whatever research they've done in preparation for human trials.
Well, Kennita said that they have done this with small animals.
Yeah, I'd be interested to read the studies.
Yeah, I would love to hear that. I don't know that that's happened. I'm not saying it hasn't, Kennita, if you're still listening, but I'm just not familiar with it. But you know what? That actually is quite fascinating to me, and I may just look that up after the show, because what we want here on this show is the truth.